I think after the last record being very traditional and more a rock record, which I think it had to be, you know, in hindsight, because of what we went through with Chris, you know, 2 new guys in the band, you have to prove to yourselves that you can be a band. And I think, you know, that's why that record's quite traditional and more of a rock record. And I think in time that record might seem slightly out of place with our catalogue, because this record kind of picks up where our 3rd record left off. There's lots of keyboards, lots of electronic stuff, and you know, we're just having fun, kind of experimenting really. And there were no worries about, oh shit, can we be a band? You know, there's no band worries. It was like, well, we've gone through that. We assured ourselves that we can be a band. So now it's just like about make a record that maybe perhaps we prefer stylistically. Even though, you know, there's lots of rock records that we like, and we are a band and we like rock records, but I think where this album has gone is probably a little bit more representative of our tastes. Our 5th record is called In Dream. It doesn't have a concept. None of our albums have concepts. You know, they kind of develop and grow, and I think having a concept requires a bit more planning and thought. Not really our vibe. Lots of the songs on the record mention dreams, kind of talk about that type of imagery. And so it kind of made sense. But to say it's not a concept record, it just developed. Like the last record developed, that suddenly I realised lots of the songs mentioned love or kind of about love. You know, it's just kind of fit.
Record 4 is very much a band in a room record, like a proper band. You know, we could have just recorded the songs and the next day gone out and played all the songs live. It was all of us in a room. And Record 5 is very much a studied, piece by piece, mosaic of where everyone's head's at this current moment in time.
This time round, we had a pile of songs that I'd started and some of the things that Justin had sent me. We had these ideas for songs. We could have gone to Birmingham and just developed them again, but I came up with the idea of, you know, working differently this time. We looked for a place that was kind of remote and isolated, where we could set up all our gear, take a Pro Tools recording setup, and you know, ideally sleep there and just work on the tunes.
Well, we certainly didn't mean to record it ourselves. I mean, in all of our heads we had sort of ideas of producers to work with, and, you know, possibly going back to Flood. But when we started working on it, and when we were in Creer, this beautiful spot in Scotland, locked away, we kind of realised we had producers within the band already, especially with Justin taking the controls of, you know, using his knowledge. He's worked with countless bands over the years, actually as a producer and a recording engineer.
I think the funny thing is we didn't really go with the intention of making a record as such. It was more like, right, we need to get in a room together and kind of feel our way through some ideas that Tom and Justin had knocked together. So when we started to do that, I think you always kind of have, when you're making any record, a kind of a benchmark track that kind of sets the tone. We started working on No Harm, and I think that was the point when everyone kind of felt like, wow, this is kind of the direction that we should be heading in, and that we're all very sort of into and feeling.
It just became apparent really quickly that what we were putting down, there's nothing a producer would have done to it. They would have done the same thing. There wasn't a lack of quality. All between us have worked with all the greatest producers in the world, so you pick things up as you go along, and I think we did No Harm first. I think fully finished No Harm first, and it was a case of listening back to that and thinking, you know, what would a producer do to it? Not much really. So, you know, it sounded great, so I think that was the point. It was like, right, if the rest of the record happens like this, then that's the album. We don't need to go anywhere else.
There's always things that make us sound like us, you know. The songs that are on this record, I don't know, something like The Law, kind of could have been on the debut really, something like that. But obviously it does sound different, but that tone I think fits in with the first record. Something like Life is a Fear as well, that's maybe linked to album 3. But there's also some big moments like Salvation, which I don't know, that could be close to An End Has a Start really. So yeah, At All Costs, again, that could be something that's linked to album 4, you know. That's like, you know, the most band playing. It's got a lovely bowed guitar, something that Justin did a lot on record 4. So it's always combinations of things.
So with this record, it's the first time we've worked, I guess, with an art director, or you know, someone kind of taking control of everything visual, from the videos to the press shots to the artwork on the record as well. And the chap that we're working with is Rahi Rezvani.
I don't know what you can say about him, other than he's a wizard. And you're quite confident. The difference between Rahi and everyone else is you can throw things over to Rahi and not have to worry about what comes back. He'll just nail it.
You know, his aesthetic, you know, his work has it has a look, you know, and straight away we share a liking for a certain, you know, his work's dark, but it's kind of odd and striking, and you know, his photos don't look like everybody else's.
Someone like that, you've just got to let him get on with it. Much the same way that we got left alone to make the record.
In surrendering yourself to somebody like that you trust, they then stretch you to places that you wouldn't have gone otherwise, you know, because you're more comfortable and you know each other. You end up doing things that there's no way you would have done if you're working with a director that you've just met for the first time. So it's quite exciting to think about like that, you know, where we'll end up going with Rahi and how it will turn out. And that's cool, isn't it? You know, having somebody else, part of the gang, that shares the creative kind of vision, and yeah, get some good stuff done.
Fifth record, In Dream, will be released in October and we'll be hitting the road at that time. It feels like we've been off tour for ages, but really we only stopped in September last year, so it hasn't been that long at all. And we've just produced, engineered, mixed a record.
We've been working on the songs live. Things are sounding really good. We're going to go out and do a big tour around Europe and then other parts of the world in 2016.
A lot of these songs are really immediate. I think half the record's quite poppy, so playing them on stage, all those type of songs is always fun. Some of the songs might test the audience a bit, but there's always some songs on the record that test the audience. You know, there's always some stuff that pisses people off, and you just go mad worrying about it. There's no, you know, there's always people that would prefer you to make All Sparks forever, or there's always people that prefer you to make In This Light forever. You just can't please everyone. So that those kind of worries of like, oh God, is this too much of a stretch for our audience? Long gone, you know, we stopped worrying about that a long time ago. Just go and do our thing.
I think the fans, you know, can expect an edited show. If you've seen this before, then you know it's quite a high-octane, big emotional rock show. Really, I think we've always been, you know, since I've been in the band and it's prior, have always been a fantastic live band, and it's trying to carry that tradition on, but introducing new things. And you know, we're just talking about the sort of stage setup and stuff now, which I think will be quite different to what we've done before, which has been a very straight up kind of rock setup. We're trying to bring in some new dynamics to that, which is exciting. And from the album, I think you can find an editor's album that's sort of shaped slightly differently. And it's quite, I think, a bit more futuristic sounding than previous albums, and looking towards the future as well.